Hi, my name is Emily. After hearing Sarah's story, I decided it was finally time to share my own. For so long I've kept this to myself, trying to rationalize it as nothing more than stress or exhaustion. But deep down I know what I experienced was real. Working far from home is never easy. For anyone it's a challenge. But for someone like me, married and leaving my child behind, it was a different kind of burden. Every day I woke up longing to see my child's face, but I pushed through. I focused on my work, pouring all my energy into it. My job required me to be in close contact with the locals. We worked to improve their living conditions while learning about their culture and traditions. Among the countless stories they shared, one theme was constant: Jinns. To us Americans, stories about supernatural beings are fascinating, like campfire tales meant to spook and entertain. But to the locals, these weren't just stories. They were warnings, accounts of real experiences in a world unseen. First, I found the tales curious, even amusing. But then came the night that changed everything. One evening, my husband came to visit me. It was the first time we had seen each other in months, and the joy of being reunited was overwhelming. To make the most of our time together, we stayed at an old but charming hotel in the city center. Right next to the hotel was an eerie, dilapidated building. Its windows were shattered, its walls covered in cracks and soot. The air around it felt heavier, colder. As we walked past it, I felt a chill run down my spine. "What a creepy place," I muttered, trying to shake off the unease. My husband laughed. "Don't let the ghost stories get to you," he teased. Later that night, we settled into bed. Exhausted but content, I curled up under the blanket, grateful for his presence beside me. A few minutes later, he joined me, wrapping his arms around me in a warm embrace. After so many months apart, it felt like the world had finally righted itself. But even as I lay there, something felt off. I couldn't place it, but there was an uneasiness I couldn't shake. I told myself it was just my nerves, the stress of the job catching up to me. I closed my eyes, willing myself to sleep. "I'm going to get some water," I whispered, gently slipping out of his arms. He murmured something I didn't catch and stayed in bed while I headed to the sink. As I filled a glass with water, I heard his voice, clear as day. "Do you want anything else?" he called from outside the room. The glass slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor. My heart stopped. Slowly, I turned to look at the bed. It was empty. No, that couldn't be right. He had been there just a moment ago. I had felt his warmth, his touch. The voice called again, this time from further away, echoing down the hall. My breath quickened as panic set in. My husband wasn't outside the room. He was supposed to be here with me. Wasn't he? The sound of shattering glass must have startled him, because a moment later, my husband burst into the room. I was frozen in place, trembling, tears streaming down my face. "Eve, what happened? Are you okay?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. I couldn't answer. What could I say? That I had felt him in the bed just moments ago, only for him to call to me from the hallway? That the warmth of his embrace still lingered on my skin, even as I stared at the empty bed? He chalked it up to stress, the result of months of grueling work and isolation. I didn't correct him. How could I? He stayed with me for the rest of his visit, attentive and comforting. I tried to act normal, but inside I was unraveling.